Okay, here it is. What have you missed with Vaughn and Steve? My name is Steve.
Hi.
Yes, his name is Vaughn. I play Baldric Barinhold in the game. You may know me from my antics. And Vaughn is the dungeon master. So we want to make sure everybody's caught up, everyone that's curious. We have quite the cast and crew, quite a lot of people. We've bounced anywhere from 4 to I think 8 at the maximum, which is a lot. But we're gonna go down the line at the very least to provide some broad strokes for the characters that have joined and left, as the case may be, just to make sure everybody's got their little moment.
And like an ideal synopsis of everything that's happened up to this point.
And I'd like to really briefly talk about the history of Barovia and the setting of Curse of Strahd. There's some alters to canon because we're again bringing characters that have backstories, but predominantly Barovia is the land controlled by Strahd von Zarovich, who became
kind of, enticed in this fog that seems to have this effect and this negative effect on its patrons, on its villages, on its people. It's a very dangerous place to be. The power of Barovia and the curse that's currently plaguing it.
You mean you're telling me we're some kind of Curse of Strahd?
Oh, no, what? No, I mean...
Barovia is itself a demi-plane connected to the Shadowfell, thanks to whatever dark bargain Strahd has struck with the powers that control the mist. Nobody gets in, nobody gets out, unless Strahd wants them to. Which is not quite true. There are some exceptions. The nomadic people of the mountain chain and Barovia themselves what are they called? They can traverse the mists. Don't know why, but that's all right. Maybe we'll find out. Strahd von Zarovich is, again, the titular Strahd von Zarovich. He is the big bad evil guy of the session. He is the son of Baroff von Zarovich. He died and came back as a vampire, and he is very strong. Very strong indeed. Quite scary. We typically in the Dungeons and Dragons art, he's kind of twink-pilled, honestly. Very smooth-faced.
Jesus Christ. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's got kind of a clean-shaven face.
No matter what I do, I can't get away from the twinks.
Yes, there will be no twink death in this campaign. Well, actually, no, that's not true. We kind of show him as classic Dracula to give him a little bit of aura, which he has lost several times. Souls don't leave Barovia. They bounce off the mists and return and get reincarnated, which is an important story beat for Strahd, who, at least in the adventure path, has an obsession with a former lover, former romantic interest that has been reincarnated. Barovia is locked up, and Strahd is reigning over the chaos. We pick up the pieces now with our group. Let's start with the people who showed up earliest. Let's give a rundown of Basil Bram, the satyr bard. Basil Bram is played by River.
From my recollection, he was introduced with a character named Nicholas, which was a character I played before I took over as DM.
Yeah, the players have heard a lot about Nicholas secondhand, but
I can hear the seeping hatred of Baldric coming through your voice.
Mother.
Basil is I'd say a very moral person, very troubled. He's someone with a past that frequently comes back to haunt him. His people, known as a kind of colony, but I'd say a group of satyrs kind of extinguished from the world and shunned out, known as the Everwild. It's a fantastical kind of place. It's ideally meant to be very wholesome, very entwined with nature.
Now, in terms of important people to Basil Bram, Basil is actually from a family of leaders. Is that correct?
Yes, a family of leaders. His older brother, known as Ezekiel, the leader of the satyr colony. Dahlia, younger sister, someone that Basil had grown up with through most of his childhood. I think after a while of Ezekiel's more aggressive worldview, more harsh and cynical worldview began
Mhm.
to fall over the Satyr people, Basil had left. He wanted to, I suppose, find something, whether that be adventure, whether that be satisfaction.
That is a thing with Basil currently, maybe not forever, but
Mhm.
boy, brother is struggling. Does he have the potential to lead? Does he deserve to lead? Because he's been groomed by his parents, which, by the way, they're dead. No
They are
longer
dead.
with us. Killed, in point of fact, by a
The
group
good
of
old
hunters.
Bruce Wayne.
But he is dealing with that, his own trauma in his backstory and his trauma throughout the sessions. But moving
Yeah,
on from Basil, we're going to talk about Rev, aka Reverend, aka
Rev.
Rev Carnifex Noctis. She's got a lot of names, but she only has one
Yeah.
personality. So Rev was an elf, and in the place that
Mhm.
she grew up, they weren't exactly a fan of elves, and she was already looking kind of different. She has heterochromia, one blue eye and one gray eye.
I'm gonna be completely honest, Rev's backstory, other than maybe a few conversations with Aimed, amazing YouTube channel, does Dustfall herself. Other than a few conversations, you'd probably know a bit more about Reverend than I do.
So Rev, after some time of dealing with her life, so after growing up in Red Harrow and not having a good time, she was eventually found. Evan, a minor vampire lord, some nobility, took Rev in and trained her and kept her safe. At that point, Rev not only was a bounty hunter, she was also an important figure in the feudal levy of this vampire lord. She's done some things. She's killed some people. She's been a general badass in her backstory. Evan is an important figure. I think they've had roughly 80 years together.
Obviously, a reoccurring theme, and from what I've noticed in a lot of Reverend's backstory, is the idea of leaving things behind. I think is a constant thing with Reverend's character is this incapability of being able to uphold personal relationships, a constant wary distance between anyone that comes into her life to
This would
start us off.
this would be a good time to just give us some broad strokes about Nicholas's backstory. So just his general vibe.
Well, I'll keep it. I'll keep it sweet. Nicholas came from a simple man's life. He was a hunter growing up, a wife and a child. Clara, that's his daughter's name. A big point of sprinkled trauma in Nicholas's life was the
A common thread, a common thread.
a common thread was that his daughter and, to his knowledge, wife were taken by vampire spawns. Since then, he's been trailing this journey with anger and a disposition towards anyone who's remotely vampiric. He came across Basil in a tavern, a classic open for meeting characters.
We love that.
And it was a bit of a bar fight. I believe it spiraled due to some of the patrons within the tavern not taking too kindly to Nicholas's harsh kind of exterior, and some were also messing with Basil. And then they were imprisoned temporarily until they were sent on a job to. Well, actually, I think the story itself was to go into the woods and find this monster that's been kind of causing up a bit of a fuss in the
Classic.
the village that we were in at the time. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name, but turned out it was this giant tree monster. Long story short, Nicholas and Basil kick ass. They defeat the tree monster.
There was a big development that we are currently dealing with is the party got rebuffed in a meaningful capacity, and we had to kind of start over with your campaign.
Well, with the context that we have from some of the in-session hints, the idea is that Nicholas had made a deal with Strahd to send the people he cared about away from Barovia. Get them out of here. If I stay, if I, sacrifice myself and my friends, they're inconsequential to you. Send them out of Barovia and let them live their life.
So moving on, we have Jean d'Arbalete. Jean is or was an adventurer before he met the party. Jean had traveled with a bunch of folks as yet unnamed. No names, no descriptions. They went around doing adventure stuff. One of the big moments that happened in the backstory, they came across Medusa. This is the Medusa, capital M, not a Medusa or a Gorgon, just straight up Medusa, Ray Harryhausen style. And that did not go well.
If you've seen the shorts, you also know she's gorgeous.
Absolutely.
And sexy.
Absolutely. That did not go well for Jean's party. They died or were turned to stone, which does leave an interesting thread. Jean has a mother. We've also recently learned her name is Jean. Not to be confused with Jean. Those are two different names. Jean. But Jean, played by Ross, had a mother, and the mother is gone, and he was partially paralyzed by the Medusa. His hand, his arm, does not work. It is made of stone. Jean is reserved, kind of standoffish, and I hate to say the word cowardly.
Hates children.
Yeah, hates children.
Oh, I always kind of saw it as self-preservation.
Yes.
To be honest.
Completely understandable in a setting like Barovia.
Yeah.
Now, Ithea. Again, has not had a lot of time to reveal backstory. Personality-wise, she's a little distant. Definitely a cleric, 100%. She's also a satyr of goatkin, a goatkin kind of satyr. She serves
to the
Saloon, the Moon Maiden. Again, we only have bits and pieces, but she served the Moon Maiden faithfully for quite a few years. She's 120 years old.
Yeah, there are a few characters within the campaign that kind of act more isolated. Dare say introverted is probably a good word. They don't really open up to the rest of the party.
Is that all of the guys that are around? Oh, Danny plays Sai. Sai is in and out. Danny's sometimes there, sometimes not. Sai has not had a lot of time to reveal backstory. Also, a warlock who is an Aasimar, who enjoys playing around with dead things. So completely
hinted to have some also connection to the Raven Queen as well.
Yes, very important. Likes dead things. Spends a lot of time in graveyards. That's about all we've got right now for Sai.
Yes.
Yes. Baldric, a.k.a. Baldric Baronhold. Does not exist. I mean, he does, but Baldric is not the Baldric
he was never here.
Yes, Baldric is not the Baldric that was. Baldric is, in fact, a young street tough called Turpin Aquitus, who lived in Kinbrace. The poor people die pretty quickly out there. He found a dead noble in a ditch. Definitely didn't kill him. But this dead noble was Baldric Baronhold, the son of the Baronhold dynasty, their current scion, only son of Ulrich Baronhold. He took Baldric's identity and started flaunting his position and trying to get free drinks. And since the Baronholds are a famous dueling house, eventually he was challenged by another noble who was in town. And Baldric, who is a street tough and not well versed in dueling at the time, killed him. Kicked him in the nuts and stomped his head.
Yikes.
Now, they summoned Baldric, who is currently Turpin. That disguise lasted all of 5 seconds. Oops.
This is like the antithesis Anastasia story.
The Baronholds give him an ultimatum. You are going to be our new son, since my son is dead and we need to continue the line. So I'm going to train you. And Junia Baronhold, Baldric's mother, and Julia Baronhold, Baldric's sister, all agreed to come together to teach Baldric, who we will call Baldric now officially, how to be a noble and a duelist and a soldier and a warrior.
So they all know.
Baldric, also has heterochromia. There's one green eye and one blue eye. And the Barinholds are famous for their blonde hair and green eyes. But one of the things that happened is he has to wear an eye patch every day to cover up the blue eye. Ulrich, his father, spent 20 years training Baldric up in the art of the Barinhold's pride fighting style. Predominantly longsword style that Baldric put a spin on as he went. Baldric is a killer, plain and simple. He is very good at murder, and he's also very good at maneuvering social situations. Hey Vaughn, all those characters are very cool, but what about Maribel Nocturne? Maribel Nocturne is played by our very own Kelly. Maribel is, again, another noble who left her noble life behind. The Nocturne House viewed her only as someone to be married off to increase their political power, their soft power, and Maribel ain't about that life. You don't want to get married off to an older man she doesn't know. Maribel has taken on the appearance and the methodology of a character in some of her favorite books called The Quiet Blade. Maribel is jovial. She has some issues finding her own way because she's been told how to live by her parents. She's been told how to live by her books, and she's discovering her own identity in between, which we will get there.
Fucking sharpshooter.
Yeah, God, she's a crack shot. Moving on. Yeah, well, let me do the two that we lost. We lost Smoke, who was a monkey, an awakened monkey with the heart of a storm giant. And then there was also Theodore, Teddy, yes.
Yeah. Theodore was a devil that had this obsession with, giving other people contracts so that he could bind their souls to said contract and then potentially use that to his will.
Zaunt is another warlock that was with us briefly. Zaunt was a warlock who also had an obsession with souls and getting them. Zaunt had fled the Underdark with creatures in tow, people that wanted her, them, they, dead. A couple of these characters, their backstories are a little nebulous, not for lack of trying or lack of effort. So we are working under what you would have learned had you been present. And when I say you, I mean you, the audience.
You.
Listening.
Every last one of you.
These figures walk towards Ravenloft, and Strahd waits for them with open arms. The sun trembles, the dawn falters, and when the battle is joined the night, will not ask if the heroes are ready. It will simply